Well, Cory, it's a special episode today.
Yes, indeed, it is.
For multiple reasons.
Do share.
First reason, my hemorrhoids aren't flaring up.
That's
so
a
that's
good. That's a good reason. Very good reason.
pretty special. Number two, it's your birthday.
It is. It is my birthday.
You're turning young 75 years old.
Thank you for the 10-year lead.
So happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you very much. There's not much that I wanted for my birthday.
Yeah, if you had to choose one thing, what would it be?
I don't know. That's a very good question. A few friends of mine asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and it was a very difficult answer because I pretty much have the major important things. So I just gave them stupid answers.
Yeah, well, why don't you shove it in my face? Why don't you, huh?
I'm not shoving anything in your face just because I have more than somebody else doesn't make me better than that person.
I think it does.
It does not.
And then the third reason this is a special episode is it's our 10th one.
Oh, we're 10 weeks old.
We're officially showing.
Is that when a girl starts showing? Is that 10 weeks?
I don't know, man. I don't have kids.
I've been showing since I was 10 weeks old.
Oh man, same. Yeah, so let's start the show, eh?
Hey.
That's where I'll put the intro music. Hey boyos, it's Jake and Cory, and we're doing a show. We're not in the same room again. It's getting kind of old. I'm kind of over it, man. I'm ready to go outside. I'm ready to. It's not even so much that I would go outside. It's just not having the option, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm Cory, and that's Jake.
Well, yeah.
Kind of negated the lead in there.
Yeah. I fucked up the intro, whatever.
You know what? I think I'm with you on the going a little stir crazy. Now, I've never been one for the outside, but one thing that I truly miss. I asked myself this just the other day, Jake. What is the one thing that I cannot just wrap my head around is the fact that I can't go to the grocery store every day and get ingredients to cook food because I love cooking. And that's the one thing that I miss.
Is that how you did it? You would go to the store every day?
Literally, I would say every day to every other day, I would be at the grocery store. The grocery store from my home is about 2 blocks away. So it's very, very close. And I miss going in there and picking fresh produce and discovering new products in the Asian aisle that will challenge me culinarily. I can't do that anymore. And my
colonly
too. I can't do that anymore. I hate depending upon some app to order my food. That's what's starting to really get to me. I can care less about everything else. I can care less about going to the park, which you still kind of can. But I miss that one thing. That's the one simple thing that I miss right now.
Yeah, I really miss going to shows.
Seeing my friends.
But a big one is I really miss going to the movies.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be at the top of your list.
And, I heard AMC is about to file bankruptcy because of all this.
I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, I hear that's the move. About to shut down AMC.
That would suck because I love AMC theaters.
Yeah, it's a damn shame, and it makes me wonder. Like, would the big studios maybe try and bail out AMC, because AMC makes all of the big studios a lot of money, by existing. So you'd think that maybe they'd come together and try to save them, but who knows?
Or does Harkins come in and swoop up that available market share? Or do these new little boutique theaters, we've been seeing them pop up here and around Arizona, these little boutique theaters, dine-in theaters, those have been exploding over the last few years. So does a small boutique theater come in and swoop up and negotiate a contract with these big studios?
Yeah. I don't know. You'd think that like the movie studios themselves would want as many theaters open as possible, so then there's as much possibility for people to sit down and watch their movie, but it's everyone's hurting right now, so maybe even the big studios are like, well, we can't really spare a dime right now. So I don't know.
And the new big studios aren't doing I think that they're going to find a way to. I heard a business advisor, and I'm trying to think of where I saw or where I heard, but in short, they were speaking that, this is a challenging time for all businesses. And yes, unfortunately, some businesses are going to not survive this, but this is also a bigger challenge is for businesses to adapt to the way that the market is consuming their products. Now, there are still people that still want to see movies like you. There are still people that still want to eat out. And so what these businesses are having to do in the midst of this pandemic is to adjust to the market, adjust to the shift of the market and how the market wants to receive it. They've never, I drove by in a restaurant just the other day when I was going to an Amazon lockbox because I had to return something to Amazon and I didn't want to have to interact with a UPS driver or a FedEx driver. So I elected to put my item in an Amazon lockbox. So I'm driving to this Amazon lockbox and I drove by a Mexican restaurant, and very popular Mexican restaurant in the North Phoenix area.
Pretty good too.
Yeah. My daughter loves it. And I see a line of people outside their door and everybody's standing 6 feet apart. But there was a good line of a good 25 people standing out there to get their little Valley Luna chips. And the fact that Arizona is allowing alcohol to fall out of the restaurant doors too. So it has a lot to do with how these businesses are seeing how the market shifted. And it's something in business that happens all the time where your consumers start to consume differently. Unfortunately, in this situation, a pandemic forced your market to shift, and it's really all about adjusting.
Yeah, well, I don't know how a movie theater adjusts to.
Well, maybe they need to develop an online streaming platform. Maybe that's where they need to do it.
But like the whole idea of a movie theater is seeing something on a big screen.
Yeah. But then
that's the whole point.
Wasn't a movie just released? A brand new release was just released on streaming services.
Yeah.
That still did good, and people. I mean, everybody's got big screen TVs, but of course, it's not the three-story right, screens.
Exactly. It's not the same, and like the sound system,
the IMAX experience.
Yeah, and you say it did well, but I don't know. It's basically just releasing like it would have, just without the initial revenue of the theater. So it's probably taken a huge loss by releasing that way.
Probably. Now,
Uh,
do you think that if the AMC theater organization is not able to bounce back from this, do you think that that's going to move the studios to lower some of those budget caps? Because movies have been really expensive to make lately. And if they're
oh
going to
yeah,
have a limited if they're going to have a limited availability to release, that means they're going to have a limited return on their initial investment. So I would think that the studios would say, let's not spend $100 million on this. Let's just spend
yeah.
75 million.
No, I think we're gonna see a resurgence of the B movie out of
Yeah.
this for sure. Because I don't know if you've noticed, we really all we have these days are either huge, big budget blockbuster films or indie movies. That's really it. There's no real B movies anymore. So like I have a feeling we're gonna see a huge resurgence of B movies. I'm a big gamer, right?
Yes.
And in gaming, there's indie titles, just like movies, and then there's these things called AAA games, right? And those are like the big games, the games that you've heard of, like Call of Duty and Grand
Yeah.
Theft Auto,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like those are the big games. And back in the day, like PS1, PlayStation 1 era, there was a thing called a double A game. And that was sort of like it's a bigger budget than an indie game, but smaller than a triple A game. In the past few years, that sort of thing, a double A game, just hasn't really existed. It's
What would
mainly been
classify as a double A game?
there's I would have considered like I mean you probably would have never heard of them, but like
No.
a game like Darksiders is sort of a double A game. There used to be a company called THQ. They were kind of known for making double A games, and it's basically like it has a bigger budget than like an indie game, but a much smaller budget than a triple A game. And
So AAA
and
games would be games that are developed by those very, very large, what do you call them? Game studios? What do you call them that
yeah,
develop?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like
So it would be like
big
those
studios,
big, huge,
publishers.
large, yeah, publishers. There, that's the word I was looking for. Publishers.
Hmm. And what those big publishers found were instead of funding a lot of smaller projects and then like one big AAA game, is they were like, well, if we just put more money into the AAA games, then we end up making more money in the long run. But I think with all of this going on, we might end up seeing more AA games.
From
Just
a
because,
gamer's perspective, what do you prefer? Have you or what has your experience been? Would you have you enjoyed more triple A games or have you enjoyed more double A games?
I personally think more games is better.
The more the better. Triple A or double A
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah, because a lot of the AA games suck, but to be fair, a lot of the AAA games suck. So
So it's
uh,
even field basically.
yeah, now there's just less games and less to choose from. So maybe and you might be more willing to take a risk on a AA game versus a AAA game.
Is there a difference in price between a double? And you're talking to a non-gamer, so that's why I'm asking the questions. Is there a price? Is there a difference in price between a triple A game and a double A game?
Sometimes, I mean, games very typically just launch at $60.
Man, that's a lot of money.
I mean, they go down in price pretty quick.
Even
but
for a download, you still have to pay $60.
yeah, it's nuts. Welcome to my world.
Wow. I mean,
That's why I don't buy one.
the closest that I get to it is my 19-year-old who has his Piston 4, and that's he downloads those games, and he was freaking out just the other day because I guess there was some type of update or upload, and while it was uploading, he's pacing up and down in and out of his room and into the hallway and back, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I'm nervous because my Piston 4 is updating right now, and I don't know what it's going to look like when the update is done. Luckily, it wasn't anything bad, but I was like, oh my God, he looked like a father that was outside of a delivery room waiting to see if the baby's going to come out looking like him. I mean, he was that nervous.
Yeah, I mean the update was just it was just a maintenance
Security
update.
patch.
Yeah, I had that same update. Yeah, I don't know. Most games launch at 60, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did start seeing more AA games launching at like 40. There are some like indie games typically launch at like 20, you know. But yeah, I mean, we could definitely start seeing that like $40 games versus the 60, and it could be a good thing. Who knows?
That same effect is what the movie studios can possibly take. The movie studios will start to do AA for, to tie into what you were saying. Movies that start producing AA features instead of
basically
triple
B
A
movies.
features. B movies, because they're not going to be able to make the money back.
Remember?
It sucks and it's heartbreaking though, man. But coming from a place where I've studied business, it's like even the little thing that me and you do, even the small little thing called the Jake and Cory show, we knew that we had to continue to do the show. We wanted to continue to build this show because we're both passionate about this show. We both got hit by the pandemic and we shifted, we adjusted. It's not ideal, but we adjusted in order to continue to do it. And you do an excellent job making it sound as great as it can be from two different locations. So it kind of plays into that when it comes to these movie theaters and some of these businesses, is that they're going to have to adjust. But the unfortunate thing is, Jake, there's going to be some that aren't going to be able to survive it because they probably went into this on a shoestring, and they're not going to be able to hold on. And that's the part that sucks. I mean, my family, when I grew up, it was all, my family grew up on a small business. My father was a small business owner. So I feel, and I can relate to the pain that some of these small businesses are experiencing, but even some of the big businesses like AMC.
Yeah. Well, and I have a feeling, even the bigger dogs like Disney are struggling, because, and it has to go with like, they don't make B movies. Mm-mm. They make like Avengers with $350 million.
And they just spend all that money on buying some of those rights to other movies. And it's like, man.
And they just bought Fox for like $10 billion.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, they have a ton of money, but to keep doing what they are doing, they need to be bringing in a lot of money.
A ton of money costs a ton of money, and they had a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I know we're just talking about the movies, but dude, their parks are closed worldwide right now.
I've been wondering about the parks, like, what does the rollout look like for that?
Dude, that's a really good pivot right there, man. This whole reopening the world basically is what everybody has been talking about, and there's so much consternation. I was just watching a Rosie O'Donnell Instagram live replay, and she was asking that same question. When does Disney, in regards to their parks, when do they even know when it's okay to reopen that and allow millions of people back into a very crammed space? Disney parks, I don't know if you've ever been to one, but it's a sardine can of people wearing Mickey ears. That's literally what a Disney park is. You got millions of people crammed into acres of land, and you're shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people, and you're shoulder to shoulder with people for 20 to 30 minutes waiting outside of a ride.
Well, I mean, you're really shoulder to shoulder with people for, a good 16 hours while you're in the park.
Literally.
Because it's not even while you're in line. It's just like walking around. It's completely crowded.
It could be pandemonium, but that's the Disney experience. So when do the Disney...
And it is fun. It's fun,
It's amazing when there's not some killer bacteria running around the world.
Yeah.
And Disney, when it comes to those parks, man, they're going to play it safe. I would be surprised, and this is going to be I'm going to fetch this one out real far, Jake. I would be surprised if a Disney park reopens before the end of the year.
Yeah, I wonder.
I think they're going to sit on it until the end of the year. I would.
Yeah.
Or at least until there's antibodies or a vaccine.
Something.
Yeah. Because everything right now, and I wanted to talk to you about this, everything right now is like everybody's starting to question when are things going to reopen? When is the U.S. going to reopen? And unfortunately, the charge is being led by the one guy who should have our best interest at heart. And I know that we try not to swing political, but we end up swinging political. But the White House is leading the charge in opening the state and supporting people that are protesting quarantine right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the real thing is like, people keep saying, when does everything open again? When is everything going to be open again? Well, I don't think everything's just going to reopen. I think it's going to be a slow, like sort of slow burn. Like we'll start to slowly reopen the economy. But like when we open the economy, that doesn't mean, sporting events are going to start happening again. That doesn't mean that, we're going to start having movie theaters open again. Or maybe we could have movie theaters with a limit of 50 people per theater. Like, who knows? Events that limited to 50 people, like that might be the rollout. And that means Disneyland and stuff like that won't be open for a hot minute.
Reopening the economy right now, everything that I'm hearing, and I am a rube. I'm not a political junkie. But it seems that everything behind reopening the economy is politically driven because you got politicians that are saying the economy needs to reopen and they want to roll out a plan on how to reopen it. But then you got the medical professionals and the scientists saying, no, not yet. What are you doing? There's a threat of a second peak. There's a threat of a second wave. What are you doing? So to open, I understand why the economy needs to be reopened. But listen to the medical experts. Why are we ignoring science right now? For the love of pizza.
Well, and that's why we should start doing a slow rollout instead of a large one, because we don't want to see another peak.
We don't know how to do anything slow in this country, especially the United States, Jake. Everybody lives in a microwave society. Nobody's going to accept that. When one thing opens, it's going to be a domino effect, and they're going to want everything open. There are protests happening. Why are people protesting their own safety? And this is the bullshit rub of it, Jake. And I'm sorry I'm passionate about this right now, but this is the bullshit rub of it. The dumbasses that are out there protesting are protesting wearing masks. Come on!
Yeah. Well, we can't just sit in our houses all day. We have to do something eventually.
We need to listen to the medical professionals and the science when they say that it is clear.
And we do.
But we're not.
And if they're saying, let's do a slow rollout, here's the best way to do it, then that's what we should do.
They're not saying anything right now. Have you heard anything about what the medical field and the scientists are saying we should do to reopen and re-engage society?
Everything I'm seeing from the medical professionals is that we're starting to hit the peak, where the worst is sort of behind us unless we get another wave of it. Another thing that they're noticing is like, especially in California, it looks like there might be some sort of herd immunity going on. So, I mean, it might be time to start like opening up some things if we have some sort of antibody testing. I know that is a thing now.
Yeah, that's happening actually at ASU, Arizona State University.
Right. So if we could start doing some antibody testing, once people get antibody tested, we can like start sending them back to work, start opening this shit up a little bit, take it slow.
Yes,
Don't
slow.
overdo
Why
it.
protest it? Why protest?
Yeah, I mean, people protest everything, though. I
Oh
mean,
my
how could you not?
gosh.
You're foolish to think that that wasn't going to happen.
I guess
It,
I've
it,
marked me foolish then, because I don't understand how a group of people can say, I'm going to protest the fact that the government is trying to keep me safe. I tweeted our governor, Governor Ducey, and I told him, don't fall to pressure to reopen this state. Even if he
I
does,
mean,
dude, I will still self-quarantine myself. I'm not doing it. I can't. The medical industry and the medical professionals and science has said, okay, I haven't
I
heard
mean,
that yet.
there's been protests for a dude who was homosexual giving a speech by people standing outside with signs that say homophobe on it. It's like, well, he's gay. What do you mean? You know, like people don't think about things like,
See,
and that's a vocal minority. You know, I think most people are trying to be at least a little level-headed, but we got to start. You know, it's a risk analysis sort of thing. You know, like, yeah, we don't want people to get sick, right? We don't want people to get sick, but we also want to figure out a way for our economy to not completely crash. So there has to be some sort of balance. It's not black or white, you know?
you said the phrase that pays, risk analysis. I don't think, Jake, that we have completed our risk analysis yet. I don't think we've completed our risk analysis with this whole thing. And I agree with everything that you're saying. There's nothing better. I want to have the economy reopen. I want people to go back to work. I want people to be I want to not have the fear of losing my job because of an economic collapse. I've experienced that before in 2008. I don't want it to happen again. So I want things back to normal, but I
Well,
want them
this,
done strategically, and I don't think we've
right.
completed our risk analysis yet.
I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see, right? Um,
I mean, I've been
we got to start.
hopeful.
We got to start moving because I mean, us just sitting in place isn't going to fix anything.
Yeah, but it's
So
also us sitting in place is protecting us from another
no,
wave
and I
that would make
understand
it
that.
even worse.
I understand that. I do understand that. 100%. I understand that.
And I'm going
But
stir crazy too, man, Jake. I am. Dude, you know, I've been hopeful and upbeat and trying to stay positive throughout this whole entire thing, but it's starting to wear on me too, man. Especially with it being my birthday. I was like, son of a bitch, I can't do anything. I can't even hug my grown kids because they're sheltered in place at their home. You know what I mean? And it's my effing birthday. I had to eat a box cake. I know, rich people problems. I had to eat a box cake for my birthday. I don't eat box cake. I'm Cory mother
yeah,
effing Blaze.
yeah.
You
Well, I'm
know?
not. I'm not saying the economy needs to reopen today or tomorrow, but you know, we need to start thinking about it and
We
start
can start
discussing it.
thinking and discussing and planning one thing. Protesting and forcing the hands of our political leaders is another thing. I think that's where we're falling down. And
Well, but
we
like at the same time, the medical professionals have been telling us these numbers, right?
right, and a lot of their
And
models have been wrong. Like we did not have a hundred
completely.
thousand deaths in 1 week, and Arizona hit their peak last week, and we're starting to flatten the curve here this week, which is proof that what we're doing right now is. I know it's not going to go away 100% before we reopen the economy, but I don't disagree that we need to have talks and plans, but I think it's stupid if we're going to try to force our political
Yeah.
leaders to do
Well,
something.
and it almost seems to me, and you know, maybe I'm getting conspiratorial again here. This will get me in trouble one day. But it almost seems to me like they may have inflated the numbers a bit, almost to. Now, hear me out.
No.
Before,
I'm not disagreeing. I'm actually not disagreeing with you because Go ahead. I feel where you're going.
I feel like they may have inflated the numbers a bit just to make it so we would actually comply more. But now people are starting to notice, like, hey, your numbers are off, and the numbers aren't just off like for, because what they were saying is like if we don't lock down, we could see up to 5 million people dying from this, and if we do lock down, we'll still probably see 100,000 people dying, and we have lockdown, and most like us, like we haven't even done a full lockdown like California or New York, and we're nowhere near those numbers. And so I think what happens, like they tell us these numbers probably so we would comply, and I think that's great. We should have done what we're doing now, and I agree with that. But why lie?
I don't think it was necessarily a lie. I think it was it is basically was a projected model. It's almost like a meteorologist when they come on your TV in the morning and they tell you what the weather is going to be like a week from now. They don't know 100%. All they're doing is that they're taking some idea that maybe
Right.
some clouds out over the Pacific are going to make its way in. They take the trajectory of the jet stream, so they factor in all these little different factors. But just like the other day, we were supposed to get be 89 degrees today in Arizona, and the last time I checked, it was only 80 degrees. So it's like they're just working off of a projected potential number.
For sure.
And I think that's what they were doing.
And there are margins for errors.
Right, but there are huge margins.
That margin
is
massive. Yeah.
Yeah, massively huge. And I was trying to access the CDC's website while...
Yeah, and I'm spitting out my ass right now.
Right.
Both because I have diarrhea and I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like I'm pretty sure the numbers are not what they were saying they were going to be.
No, they're not, especially when it comes to
I think what happens is like people see that shit and they're like, well, what the fuck? And in my opinion, I think I'm just fucking happy it's not those high numbers, you know?
I mean, there was a
godsend.
But
some people look at that and they say, hey,
they
you
take
lied
it for
to
the
us.
word it is.
Why should we trust you?
Okay,
You were wrong before. Mm-hmm. You were wrong before. So why are we still following this? And so I'm playing devil's advocate a bit here.
No, but what you're saying is probably what a large segment of the populace are seeing, because they're saying, okay, 2 weeks ago, remember the first week of April was supposed to be the worst week. The news and the president was telling us this is going to be the worst week for deaths, and they were saying we could see up to 100,000 additional deaths, and that never happened. I don't think we had more than 10,000 deaths in that week, and don't quote me on those numbers, but it definitely wasn't 100,000. So yes, Jake, people are seeing the fact that the media and the White House was projecting 100,000 deaths, potential 100,000 deaths, and we didn't see that. And then the margin of error between 100,000 and even if it was just 25,000, that's a 70,000% difference. And I would, and looking at that from a 3,000 foot level, you would say that, okay, if that number was off, the rest of their numbers are probably off. Arizona in itself was projecting to not hit its peak until the end of April. That's what they were projecting in March. Well, according to the numbers, we hit our peak last week, because we're seeing a continuous, not downturn, but a flattening of the curve, which is what everybody's been talking about. It's flattened out. We've hit a plateau. in
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, and now we're just waiting to see when that plateau starts to decrease. So it's all about a model. It literally, and I can only tie it back to business because that's what I know. It's literally like filling out an income verification sheet when you're going for a small business loan. You're projecting what sales are going to be. You're projecting what you hope to accomplish. And in this situation with COVID-19, they were projecting. And I agree with you, Jake. In some cases, their projections may have been way too far, which may be the fuel behind these people saying you over projected, it wasn't as bad as you said it was going to be, let's get back to work. That to me is a rational thought process.
Yeah, it is sort of rational to think that way. But to be fair, like if we weren't doing what we were doing right now, the numbers would be much worse.
Yes.
But they probably wouldn't even be as bad as they were saying it would be if we didn't lock down. But it still would be bad. But like, I don't know. I don't want to say too much to like make myself look like an asshole because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, we're both
but
idiots.
like,
We're just coming from a place where we thought it was going to be. I mean, look at this
well,
way.
and I hate to say it like this, okay? And this is what I was going to say. And I hate to say it like this, I don't know what the death toll is in America right
I
now.
have the numbers.
Okay, what's the number at
Death
right now?
tolls 38,928.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people and it sucks. It's unfortunate, right?
Yeah, but do you know what the number is for people that tested positive in the United States?
It's got to be in like the upwards of like a couple 100,000, right?
A little bit more than that, about 750,000 people, 739,988 confirmed cases.
Yeah, and how many people are in America, right? They're right?
Billions.
Yeah. And so like I hate to say it like this because 30,000 is a lot of people.
40, yeah, it is. And
30,000 out of a billion people is a small number. I hate to say it like that. It is, though. And people die of disease every year. And also, we don't know the real statistics of the numbers because how many of those people got sick because they were old as fuck and they were going to die anyway?
oh God.
And well, I'm just being honest here, okay? Like how many of those people were old as fuck and they were going to die anyway? How many of those people had pre-existing conditions and they could have gotten the flu and died?
Yeah.
Like we do not know. We don't know.
Here's where I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That's all I had to say. I mean,
here's where the models are working. Okay, I'm just gonna do a little Jake and Cory model right here on the show. A little Jake and Cory model.
We're both models.
Yeah, so. We are. Yes, I model for big men's burkas. All right, so right now there are 739,988 confirmed cases in the United States. To date, I think this information is up to date as far as the 17th of April. 38,928 deaths have been reported. 66,357 are reported recovered. So if you take the confirmed cases and you minus the recovered cases, what the models are telling them is that we still run a risk of 673,631 people dying because there's still that amount of people that have confirmed cases. So that's how they're kind of figuring the model out from a stupid person's standpoint, from a layman's standpoint. There's the medical professionals are saying we're still running the risk of 673,000 plus people dying because there's still confirmed cases out there because not all 739 confirmed cases have recovered or 739,000 have recovered. So that's how they're kind of jogging the numbers a little bit. Now, yes, a few weeks ago.
But how many of those people are just like, well, I have a little cough,
Well, I'm thinking that the confirmed case numbers are the numbers that hospitals and clinics are reporting to the CDC. And I'm going to find out what this was updated at actually 20 minutes ago. And this is information that is coming from the CDC website. Is the listed source here of the cases.
Well,
I'm
and I
sorry,
know
not the CDC.
Trump just did a live stream, and I just missed it. So we're saying things, and Trump literally just said some shit. So I don't even know, man.
Yeah, that's very true. But I'm looking at Arizona, where we live. Last week
Where we
reign supreme. We are the supreme podcast of Arizona.
God damn it! Yes, we are.
So Arizona has 4,507 confirmed cases right now, according to the Arizona Department of Health website. That was updated 20 minutes ago as well. We have 169 deaths. There are 7.7 million people in Arizona. What's really disturbing is that the Arizona website is not currently reporting the number of people that have recovered. So even if you take the 169 deaths and you minus that from the 4,507 confirmed cases, that is still that remaining number is a potential risk of deaths. So still we're looking at a over 4,000 deaths from the existing current confirmed cases. So that's how the models are working. That's how they're doing those models. But what they're doing is they're overshadowing the 4,000, because what they're taking is they're probably figuring out the percentage of confirmed cases to recovered cases, and then taking an average of census data and adding that into how many family members one person has. And then that's where they're getting those big ass inflated numbers from.
Well, and it says we have a confirmed over 4,000 or whatever.
Yes.
But our number probably, I mean, it's probably higher, but like we don't know, because they're not telling us. They're not telling us how many have recovered, like you said.
They're not.
So it's not actually 4,000. It's actually lower than 4,000, because some of those have recovered. And so I don't know.
Well, between April, I'm looking at one of the little statistics here. On April 9th, we had 224 confirmed cases that day. On April 10th, we had 200 confirmed cases that day. Do you see what's happening? On April 11th, we had 99 confirmed cases that day. On April 12th, we had 95 confirmed cases that day. But then on April 13th, we jumped to 268 confirmed cases that day. So that's not a drop. That's a plateau.
Right.
Because the next following day, we had 229 on April 14th. And on April 16th, we had 74 reported cases. And that's where the data stops then. So
it's also confusing. I'm not smart enough to even know.
I'm not either. I'm just reading off the website.
I don't understand why they wouldn't tell us how many recovered. Like, why wouldn't they have recovered on there too?
Because that doesn't sell. It goes back to what you said earlier, and you kind of pulled me.
This is on the Arizona website, though?
This is on azdepartmentofhealth.gov. AZDHS.
Well, what are they trying to sell? They're supposed to be a service, not a fucking...
They're probably... Here's a funny thing, is that even when you look at the ethnicity report, white, non-Hispanic, 19% of COVID cases... Hispanic or Latino, that number doesn't even register. Native American, 7%. Black, there's no number there. There's zero number in Hispanic. Asian Pacific Island, 2% the population. Other non-Hispanic has no registered number. But then the unknown has no registered number. So I think this report that they have on their website is completely out of date or inaccurate. So how can you draw a conclusion by incomplete data? And I'm looking at this on their website, live on their website right now.
Oh man, that's so weird. Like, I think they'd have a better handle on that.
You would think that they've had over 60 days to start collecting this data. So
real.
With that being the case, Jake, it leads proof and support to your argument. When people are going and looking at this incomplete data and looking at this right in front of them on a government website, then yes, in their mind, they would say, according to what I'm seeing, it's nowhere close to what you projected. Let's go back to business. It's
and this is what's leading people to protest. It's like it's almost like you're fucking lying to me. Like
it would. I could see how it would come
it's
across
like
as a lie.
You're hiding the truth, and I don't think it benefits anyone in this particular situation to hide what's going on. You know, if the numbers are lower than what you were expecting, then you need to tell us. You
Right.
know.
I don't think they'll ever. I don't. And see, that's where.
And they don't want to tell us for a couple different reasons, but one of the reasons is, you know, maybe I'm speculating is, you know, their pride. They don't want to admit that maybe they were a little wrong.
Politicians don't ever want to admit that they're wrong. Hello, White House.
And number two, they don't want people to start instantly going back outside, because then we could start seeing the numbers rise dramatically.
Correct.
And that's another reason. But you should just tell us. Like, you know, if people are going to start being dumb with the numbers, well, that's on them. Okay. Like, you got to be honest with us. Otherwise, you're going to see people start protesting, which is no good for anyone.
And they're not going to be honest about it, because what's going to happen is that their politics are their political position is going to rise up front. And they're never going to say, okay, our projections were a little wrong. One, because they're politicians, and two, I've worked with many doctors in my life. They don't like to say they're wrong too many times. So they're going to continue to hide behind the model. I told my kid the other day, I am so sick of hearing the media say the model.
Well, yeah. Well, and then you go watch, like, you know, more traditional media like CNN and Fox News, right? Those are like the two big ones. And CNN is barking down one side, where it's, you know,
yeah, we're making it a political issue now.
Yeah, stay home, stay at home, stay at home. We're all gonna die. You know, everything is on fire. Look at us. And then you go to Fox News, and it's the complete opposite of what CNN is doing, where they're like, oh, this is overblown. They don't know what they're talking about. No one's dying. Everything's fine. And what I'm over here saying is, no, there's some gray area there, and no one seems to be discussing the gray area.
No one wants to factor in the gray area, because
it's either one extreme or the other, and it doesn't seem right.
Why?
Yeah.
Because one extreme or the other is what sells. You're going to get people to watch you if you're telling them that it's all good in the hood, green light, we need it to be clear for us to go back out. And then the other side of the people that sells is going to be doom and gloom. It's the end of the world. None of the media has ever reported how many people have recovered. Not one time have they ever made a spotlight of the recovery amount. And of course, clearly by looking at the numbers, how inaccurate they may be, there is a higher percentage of people recovering nationally and worldwide than there are people that are dying from this thing. But you're right. One news cycle is going to preach fear. The other news cycle is going to preach safety or green light. And no one wants to talk about the middle. No one wants to talk about why, because that doesn't sell.
And, you know, I want to clarify that, you know, the coronavirus it's no joke. Like, you know, it seems to definitely be affecting older people or people with pre-existing conditions more than younger people. But that's not to say that it isn't affecting younger, healthier people as well, and very badly too.
Well, I can tell you this, Jake, on that note, that 20 to 44 years old, there are more cases of COVID-19 in ages 20 to 44 than there are in ages 65 years and older.
Well, that makes sense, because the age range that you just stated, would you say 20 to 44?
20 to 44.
Well, those are the people still going out and working, and the ones going shopping and doing all that stuff, where all the older people are staying home. So, I mean, it's not to say that you're more likely to get it if you're older. What I'm saying is you're more likely to have complications if you're older.
Extreme complications.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
But that's also not to say that you won't have complications if you're younger, because you can be younger and get it and have complications. But that's the case with any disease.
Well, that's what Pink said, because Pink caught it, and Pink is one of the healthiest people on the planet, and she said it was a bitch. It was 10 times, 100 times worse than the average flu. She survived it, but she still said it was a horrible experience.
Yeah, and I've heard that from people too. But also, every time someone gets sick, you're always like, that's the worst sickness I've ever had.
Yeah, every time I get sick, I feel like I'm standing at death's door.
Yeah, and every time it seems worse. So, you got to take all that with a grain of salt too. I don't know, man. It's she's alive.
I'm glad she's alive too, but Jake, there's an argument on both sides, and I think that we have done an excellent job presenting both sides of this argument. How my stance is,
but I think there's a third argument. Not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. What's the third argument?
I think there's a third argument, and it's the one that everyone seems to be avoiding, and it's the one that is avoided for everything is the in between those two arguments. There is a position to stand in between those two arguments. I'm not saying we should open up right away, but I'm also not saying we need to stay completely closed down. I think the more righteous, not righteous, but like a more level-headed person can look at this and say, okay, well, let's really look at this and see maybe like a state that isn't really experiencing stuff too badly, like Arizona should probably stay locked down for a bit, because we've got 4,000's a high number,
right? And
it's probably higher. But some Hodunk County, in
Michigan, I believe, was on one of Trump's list. Michigan, Wyoming, and I want to say Iowa. Don't quote me on that, but he said exactly what you're saying. Those states that have very little spread of it should be able to reopen, but he also named states that have very large manufacturers in them.
Well, that's interesting.
Very interesting, because it just seemed like it was a little bit more political that he wants Michigan to reopen, and he's pressuring these governors to reopen it. Now, here's the thing. You got the Florida governor who reopened the beaches.
Wow. But like if you look at like some Hodunk County in like, South Dakota.
Backwoods, South Dakota, yeah.
And they have, let's just say, this is all hypothetical, right? Yeah. Let's say they have like 0 cases, but they're all locked down because the whole fucking country's locked down.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no fucking cases there, just let them open up and start, save their little Hodunk, businesses out there. I don't know. I think we shouldn't be looking at it so much as at a national level. We should look at it more as, county to county, really.
But then what happens when you have someone in a region like Arizona where there's over 4,000 cases? You have someone here that knows that Podunk, South Dakota is open, and they decide to go there and travel there, and they have the virus. And all of a sudden now we've got Podunk, South Dakota spiking.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I do. I don't know, man.
I don't know either, man. There's no real good answer, but the conversation does need to happen. But we need to have a conversation where everybody listens to everybody. We don't need someone sitting at a king of the hill that is mandating, because of his or her own political agenda, mandating for these states to reopen. That's what we don't need. We need to sit down and have a conversation about this. We need to hear, not just talk, hear, listen, absorb, process, perform a thorough risk analysis of the situation, and make a decision corporately, not some dictator sitting at the top of his mountain saying, you need to do this.
Yeah. But, that's been what's happening since the beginning. and there's no way really around it, because it's the only real way to get everyone on the same page is for someone to tell you, hey, we have to do this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the only way. So
And we all
like,
know it needs to happen, but damn, we gotta be smart. We don't need to microwave this situation. We need to put this sucker in the slow cooker. You know what I mean? We need to give it some time to marinate, and we need to really rationally think this out, and we need to listen to the professionals. That's what I've been saying from the beginning. Listen to the effing professionals. And people that are the loudest right now are not medical professionals.
Well, here's the thing, though, you know, and man, I don't want to say some shit that's going to get me in trouble. I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying, you know?
Dude, we can say that the sky is blue right now and somebody could misconstrue it.
I know. But, like, you know, the medical professionals, they're winging it too, because this is a novel coronavirus.
Correct.
It's new. We've never seen this before, so even they don't know.
Anything in the medical field is a
and that's the whole thing is they're telling us that they have the answers when they don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think they're saying so much that they have the answers. I think they're playing it more on the side of they have more smarts than
well, you know,
others.
And initially they were telling us you know, you don't need to wear masks. It's not going to help you to wear a mask. And what that really was, hey, we don't want to lose masks to for the doctors, you know, and that's really what that was. But you know what that is? That's them lying to us. And why would they lie to us? Why wouldn't they just say, hey, we need masks for medical professionals. We're not saying you shouldn't, like, wear a mask. We just need masks for medical professionals, and it's more important that they have it. But instead, what they told us initially was a mask isn't going to help you. But now they're saying don't leave your house without a mask.
I think that came from...
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I believe that came from them early on when they were still learning what this COVID-19 bug was. I think they were still learning, and the fact that, you know, there were still people that just there's still a segment of people that have refused to shelter in place.
It takes less than half a brain to realize wearing a mask isn't gonna hurt when there's a fucking virus. That's just a straight up lie. It's
Very
a lie
true.
that they told us, and they're doctors and they know that. If they're unsure what it was, then they should have said, well, yeah, a mask could potentially help. We don't know, but yes, it could potentially help.
It could.
That is not what they said. They said a mask isn't going to help. And now they're saying a mask is going to help because they have enough masks for the doctors now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They were saying not to do it because they didn't want all the consumers running out and I fell into that because I was busting celebrities' balls on social media when they were posting up pictures wearing masks, and there were still doctors that didn't have masks.
Right.
So I can see what you're saying when it comes to that.
Right, and that's why they were saying that. And, you know, if you're just running to Walmart, you know, just make your own fucking mask.
I do.
You don't need a medical grade mask. Let the doctors have those.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I have little bandanas.
Yeah,
I
I
wear those.
Yeah, I made a mask. I wear it to work every day.
A lot of people have busted out their old sewing machines. To start making masks and selling them.
That's what I did.
You made your own mask?
Well, our company made a bunch of them and handed them out to everyone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because, you know, we need masks at work, but we're not dealing with people who have COVID. It's just a potential risk that they do.
Sure.
So,
well, you got to act like everybody you come in contact with has it.
Right. And that's true. But also the people who really need the high end masks are the doctors.
Right. The frontline workers.
Who are literally in contact. And yeah, the CDC lied about that. There's no way around that. They lied. And that's why people are upset. And that's why people are like, well, I can't trust what you're saying because you've already lied.
Don't you think we're already a nation of people that don't trust?
Well, they give us plenty of reason not to.
I mean, this whole thing was new from the beginning, Jake. How can they? I mean, if they, I understand what you're saying because even though they had false truths, they never came out and said it was a false truths. They just pivoted,
Right.
and that's what they do, unfortunately. And I think it would be better received if they came out and not just pivoted, but actually said, I'm going to correct what my previous predictions were, but they're not going to do that. They're just going to pivot and make it seem like what they said a week ago wasn't true.
Well, it's just interesting because, when this whole thing was first starting, it was like, well, it seems like it's airborne somehow. We don't know if it's actually airborne or if it's mist. And then in the same breath, they're like, but you don't need to wear a mask.
Right.
And I'm over here like, what the fuck did you just say? like, like that makes no sense. Everything you just said makes no sense.
So
They lied.
here's one question that I have outstanding. Should China still be allowed to be a country at this point? I mean, how many times have these motherfuckers tried to kill the world? You know what I
Dude,
mean?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're gonna have. I don't know. Like we've been saying the whole time, it's all political.
It is.
So
How much longer are we going to allow this country
I-
to threaten the rest
personally
of the
think-
world?
I personally think us and the UN, we need to not invade, but we need to have a serious discussion of like, hey, these guys aren't taking health seriously.
Those
Also,
wet markets need to be. They need to be. They need to be exited off the planet. Those wet markets need to be exited off the planet. That this is ridiculous. And right now we don't have any support from the what did you mention? What was the organization you mentioned a few minutes ago?
the CDC.
No, the other one with all the other countries involved.
Oh, the UN.
Yeah, the UN. The UN ain't friends with us right now because of our current sitting president. They don't like us, so they're not
China.
going to listen to us. But, dude, come on, man. When do we say China enough is enough? I understand that you can make cell phones for 15 cents. But,
Yeah.
dude,
Well,
you're
and
doing
that's-
too much over there.
That's the whole thing is where like China gives us so many goods and we don't want to fuck with that. But China also does things that we
Bad.
wouldn't allow any other country to do. And they do it. But this is getting to
They
an area
literally
that I'm-
have successfully shut down the planet. And the last time we had someone that wanted to kill the planet, we killed them. Now, I'm not saying kill everybody in China. I just parlayed, a dictator to the fact that we keep allowing this country to do these things and no one's stepping up because they can do something over there for a fraction of everyone's individual dollar. And I don't think that that's a good enough reason to allow them to still sit over there and lick the asses of a bat and kill half the planet. When do we say
it's-
enough is enough?
Well, and that is the next question, but we need to deal with our current situation first.
Yes, we do. And we need to get more people to do #NakedChallenge. That's what we
Well,
need to do. More of that
and
on
also,
Twitter.
just back to China for a minute.
China.
Right now, there's China. There's speculation that this was conceived in a lab in China.
I saw
And-
that.
Well, we don't know.
No, and we never
obviously-
will know.
No, and they're denying it. And obviously, even if it did come from a lab, they would deny it.
Of course.
We
they
don't
would.
even know if their numbers are accurate because we can't trust China.
And again, another reason to question why the hell this country still exists.
Yeah. I don't know if it's so much that they need to not exist. It's just something needs to happen, over there.
Somebody, hey, look, if you got a kid that is continuously acting up, causing problems, you got a cancer in your workplace, what do? You step up and you handle that. You get that person in check. Someone needs to get this country in check. They've killed us and they could be brought up on charges for attempted murdering of the world. We need to get them under control. This is ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous that we continue to allow these people to make our cell phones and have so much control over the rest of the world. They brought the world to its knees, literally. They brought the world, whether it was conceived in a lab or whether it was from some dude licking the ass of a bat. It doesn't matter. It came from China.
China. Yeah, for real. So this is not where I had intended the show to go.
No, I think we say that at every end of every show, and I'm tired of looking at your fucking ceiling fan.
Well, I'm sorry. My phone died, or it's about to die, so I had to plug it in. But so like what I initially, last week I sort of mentioned that I wanted to talk about movies that I watched, and I enjoy keeping lists. I keep lists. And one of the lists I keep is all the movies I watch.
Are you about to turn this into another 2-hour episode? If so, I'm going to need to go up to Starbucks.
No, what I was going to say is that was the plan for today. But we're already an hour and 10 into this, which is usually the length of the show.
Normally.
So I think we should postpone that to next week.
Okay, we have to make ourselves a promise that that's what we start the show. Have you plugged your phone in yet?
It's plugged in, but the cord is short, so I can't do much.
You know, professionalism. Not important.
Can you hear me?
No. All right,
you can't hear me?
Hear you. Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. We're having technical difficulties. Everything's falling apart. The world is collapsing. We're saying stupid shit online. We're posting it online, and everyone's going to hate us.
Everybody's going to hate you.
Yeah, that's true. All my friends hate me already, so.
I don't hate you.
We're not friends.
That's fucked up.
All right, Cory, happy birthday. You
didn't even retort that. You didn't. You're just gonna leave that out there in the air, aren't you?
Yeah, I sure am.
All right. Well, then you do this fucking show with your friend next week. Ass.
Happy birthday. It's been an interesting deep dive into the coronavirus.
Just gonna let it marinate. Just gonna let it marinate.
Hopefully we never have to talk about the coronavirus ever again, but we probably will. We probably will next week, and we won't even get to the movies.
Yes. Join us next week when Jake and Cory podcast becomes Jake and his fucking ceiling fan.
It's the only fan I have.
Probably because you keep alienating all your friends, jerk face.
Oh my God, he took it way too personally.
I did.
It's a joke.
I know it's not. You never made it a joke.
Fucking joke. It's a joke, Cory. It's a Cory. It's a Cory joke.
It's a Cory 19 joke.